Glories to the assembled devotees. I'm wondering where all the other devotees disassembled themselves. But anyways. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devam saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nastaprayesha bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki Om Ajnanatimranasya Kananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lungayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. I could if the TV is turned on. So today we're reading from Canto 3, The Status Quo, Chapter 25, The Glories of Devotional Service, text number 42. And I guess I'll just chant it. Getting there. Madbayad vativato yam Madbayad vativato yam Suryastapati matbayat Suryastapati matbayat Varshatindro dahatyagni Varshatindro dahatyagni Mrityushcharanti madbhayat Mrityushcharanti madbhayat Madbhayad vativato yam Suryastapati madbhayat Varshatindro dahantyagni Mrityushcharanti madbhayat. Yes. Madbhayat, out of fear of me. Vati, wind or blows. Vata, wind. Ayam, this. Suryaha, the sun. Tapati, shines. Madbhayat, out of fear of me. Varshati, showers rain. Indra, Indra. Dahiti, burns. Agnihi, fire. Mrityuhu, death. Charati, goes. Madbhayat, out of fear of me. We're still missing a few people. Maybe you, Jainanda, do you think you would mind running upstairs and checking? Yeah, anyone who's asleep should be here. Maybe out of fear of Krishna, they'll come. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. It is because of my supremacy that the wind blows. Out of fear of me, the sun shines. Out of fear of me. And the Lord of the clouds, Indra, sends forth of showers. Out of fear of me. Fire burns out of fear of me, and death goes, taking its toll. Out of fear of me. Please repeat. It is because of my supremacy that the wind blows. Out of fear of me. The sun shines. Out of fear of me. And the Lord of the clouds, Indra, sends forth showers. Out of fear of me. Fire burns out of fear of me, and death goes about, taking its toll out of fear of me. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, says in Bhagavad Gita that the natural laws being enacted are correct in all activities because of His superintendence. No one should think that nature is working automatically without superintendence. The Vedic literature says the clouds are controlled by the demigod Indra, heats distributed by the sun god, the soothing moonlight distributed by Chandra, and air is blowing under the arrangement of the demigod Vayu. But above all these demigods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the chief living entity. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. The demigods are also ordinary living entities, but due to their faithfulness, their devotional service attitude, they've been promoted to such posts. These different demigods or directors, such as Chandra, Varuna, Vayu, are called Adhikari Devata. The demigods are departmental heads. The government of the Supreme Lord consists not only of one planet or two or three. There are millions of planets and millions of universes. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has a huge government, and He requires assistance. The demigods are considered His bodily limbs. These are the descriptions of Vedic literature. Under these circumstances, the sun god, the moon god, the fire god, and the air god are all working under the direction of the Supreme Lord. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Maya kshena prakriti suyate sa characharam. The natural laws are being conducted under His superintendence. Because He is in the background, everything is being performed punctually and regularly. One who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is completely protected from all other influences. He no longer serves or is obliged to anyone else. Of course, he's not disobedient to anyone, but his full power of thought is absorbed in the service of the Lord. The statements by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila, that under his direction the air is blowing, fire burning, sun giving heat, are not sentimental. The impersonalist may say that the Bhagavatam devotee creates and imagines someone as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and assigns qualifications to him. But actually, it is neither an imagination nor an imposition of artificial power in the name of Godhead. In the Vedas it said, Bishashmad vata pavate bishodati suryaha. By fear of the Supreme Lord, the wind god and sun god are acting. Bishasmad agnish chandrash chamrityur dhavati panchamaha. Agni, Indra, and Mrityu are also acting under his direction. These are the statements of the Vedas. So out of fear of Krishna, everything's working, going on, at least in the material world. Because the material world it's kind of like a playpen for the misguided souls so they can fulfill their desires, but it still needs to work nicely according to the Lord's ultimate plan. And even the demigods themselves are some sort of wayward soul wanting a little bit of sense gratification along with their surrender. Last time I gave class, I accidentally prepared for like the wrong class, but then this time it was nice. Normally when I prepare, I like search. Prabhupada actually gave a Bhagavatam class on this verse, and so it was really nice. So I'm just going to try to go over the points that he made in that. So the previous verse we heard yesterday from Yugal Kishore Prabhu, really mind-blowing, wonderful class. A lot of really interesting stories that he's experienced personally about the time of death and the difference between the terrible fear that most people have at the time of death and that he's experienced with devotees at their time of death, was talked about by Kapila Dev. This is like the greatest fear. And Prabhupada quotes the famous verse in the 11th canto, Bhayam Dvitiya Bineshava Syad, that where does fear come from? Fear comes from misidentification of the self. Fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption in external illusory energy of the Lord. When the living entity turns away from the Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position. So this bewildering, fearful condition is called Maya. And everyone in the material world, they're in some way, in some proportion, turned away from the Lord and absorbed in this bodily conception. And so everyone's afraid. You know, you look at every single animal, and they're afraid. If it's not the bird that's afraid of the cat that's going to come get it, or the lion may not look so afraid, or the cheetah may not look so afraid because they can go and catch some, other animal, and the animal's afraid of them. But what they're afraid of is not being able to eat. Then they're going to die. If the cheetah can't catch a few meals, then it expends too many calories and it dies. Or if the lion at the end of his life becomes weak when they can't properly catch anything, then they just slowly starve to death. So everyone is afraid when there's a possibility of the destruction of your body, because they don't know, no one knows what's going to happen after that. Krishna says that he can protect us from the greatest kind of fear, and Prabhupada says that the greatest kind of fear is actually getting some worse condition in our next life. And most people have no idea even that there is a next life or what they're going to get in their next life. And so at the time of death, it can be very, very frightening when their misunderstandings are directly confronted. And Prabhupada gives some examples of different fearful things. He says he experienced in LA, there's an earthquake, and when the earthquake happened, then everyone started screaming, "Oh, it's the end, oh," some pandemonium. And so of course this fear is just a part of this, when we misidentify with the body, we become animalistic dvipada pashu, two-legged animals, and all animals experience. They do the four things: ahara nidra bhaya maituna. So they have to eat, they have to sleep, they have to mate, and they have to sometimes bias created to defend or fearful, but both are the same. The reason why a government makes an army is because it's scared that the other government's going to attack them. Some other army is going to attack them. So we need an army for defense. It's the Department of Defense. Even though maybe they may be going on so many offensive measures, it's for the sake of defending, because we're scared that if we don't do it, then something bad's going to happen. If we don't take control of all the Middle Eastern countries, then the price of oil is going to be too high, and we can't maintain our level of sense gratification. And so this is where fear is coming from. Fear is coming from misidentifying us with our material body, thinking that our body is going to come to an end, acting like an animal. If we're to act like an animal, we're going to be scared like an animal. And then, on the other hand, fearlessness, like Prabhupada's name, Abhaya Charanaravinda, Abhaya. Bhaya means fear, Abhaya, means opposite. So the opposite of fear, fearlessness, comes from Charanaravinda, from the lotus feet of Krishna, from surrendering to Krishna's feet. Kapila Muni here, he's an Avesha avatar. He's an avatar of the Lord. So he's saying, due to fear of me, and all these things are scared. So if we take shelter of the strongest thing that everything is scared of, then we can have no fear. The Lord makes himself into his amsas, his different avatars, and his vibhanamsas, all the other expansions. We're the infinitesimal vibhanamsa expansion of the Lord. But his amsas are like one candle, like in Brahma Samhita. Departure eva hi dasaram abupetya dipayati vivritta hetu samana dharma. That like one candle, you light another candle, or if, like, let's say we're lighting our ghee wicks, you light one of the ghee wicks and you can easily light the other one, and the potency of the fire is the same amongst all of them. So similarly, the Lord can expand himself into so many different expansions, and they're all non-different. So that's why Kapila is saying me, even though he's coming to teach his mother how to become fearless, he's still referring to himself as an avatar. And Krishna is saying here that the Indra sends forth rain out of fear of me, the sun is shining out of fear of me, fire is burning out of fear of me, death goes taking its toll out of fear of me. So a lot of these causes of fear are ultimately managed by the demigods. Some big hurricane, like we had Hurricane Sandy, or a big tornado in Kansas or something like that. Some gigantic wind problem coming. All these are coming from Vayu. Or like on the weekend, we had this gigantic raining torrential rain. So that's like a little taste of like the Samvartika cloud for like 1 second, and it caused so much problems. We're still dealing with the aftermath, trying to fix the warped wood, how much damage that caused. Or like over the summer, it was record-breaking heat waves, in different parts of the world, especially like Western America and the West Coast, and also in other places. It was in Africa and India. It was becoming so hot, people were just dying just for overheat. So there's different demigods that are different officers. Prabhupada's mentioning in the purport that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has a huge government, and he requires assistance. So according to the Vedic literatures, all these different things are actually led by people. Ekali Ishvara Krishna Ara Sabya Brita. So all these so-called controllers like Indra and different demigods, they're ultimately subordinate to Krishna. Where scientists, they don't really understand this at all. They say that matter is just working independently. The weather is just working from some chemical arrangement. But this is nonsensical. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, Maya kshena prakriti suyate satracharam, that all of this matter is ultimately being controlled by me. and it's ultimately being controlled by consciousness. It's not just some random happening of nature. And if you just work out how the chemicals are arranging themselves, then you can completely figure it out. I mean, everyone knows that the weather apps are extremely, like, especially in Harinam, we're always trying to guess, is it going to rain, is it not going to rain, because it affects us. And it's always a headache, because like it'll say it's going to rain, then it say it's not going to rain, and then it starts raining, and it's saying it's not raining when it is raining, and they don't understand actually how it works, because they're not really connected with the reality that it's being run by consciousness. It's not just some dead machine. And so it's not just random chance. Like, we have people running the power plant so that we get the electricity. We have people running the sewers so that we get flowing water, and that we, the toilets can properly flush. And so if we can understand the message of Shastra, which allows us to see beyond our own small purview, we can understand that similarly everything that's happening in the universe is perfectly arranged and controlled by different units of consciousness, and ultimately Krishna is the ultimate controller of all of it. And the material nature can do a lot. Also in the Brahma Samhita it says, Shristi Stiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Reka. So Shristi, it can create, and Pralaya, it can destroy. Prabhupada makes the point that the Bhutva Praliyate, that the universe is constantly being recycled. It's being going into creation and destruction cycles. He says that when a planet first gets created, there's so much water that comes on that it's completely covered in water. Then slowly it dries out, then land comes. And then living entities can go on this land. And then it'll get to the point where there's no water and the land becomes scorching hot and too dry. And then again, everything vanished, and rain will have to come and water will have to come. And this is just a cycle that happens over and over and over again. But how is it working? Chayeva yasa bhuvanani bibarti durga. Chaya means shadow. So it's happening like a shadow. Like if I, put my hand, wherever I move my hand, the shadow moves with it. So material nature is not just moving randomly. It's not just moving by itself, just some chemical reaction that started and then just happens to keep going. Even recently, I guess I'm not going to say that. But it's like when the hand moves, the shadow moves. So similarly, the world is operating with consciousness, with the controller. Like a plane will have a pilot. It's not just flying independently. Or even if it's like a drone that's flying, there's still someone like on the remote control flying the drone. Or like a big tank has a big crew making sure it's firing in the right direction, driving in the right direction. Or some gigantic, like a big Tesla car factory. Even though it may have a bunch of AI like robots like building it, ultimately there's a person that pushed the button, that designed the software, that's like maintaining it. So without the touch of spirit, without consciousness, there's no question of matter just operating. The atheists will say the whole world is moving without God, but we'll say kind of the opposite, that you're not conscious of God, but how could such a perfectly huge machine be, a well-oiled machine like the universe and all the planets and all the different weather patterns and all the things that happen to be able to support us, to support everyone that's living? How could that happen without someone crafting it, guiding it, and maintaining it? And so the Shastras tell us that there is. And not only guiding it, but then the Shastras tell us that it's also like out of fear. That's what we're hearing in this verse, that these things are going on, that they're going on nicely, that the ocean doesn't just come and swallow everyone up, even though maybe it wants to, but out of the fear of the Lord, it just maintains itself perfectly at the shore until the proper time. Maybe there's a time when there should be some devastation. Then, at that time, there's so many things. Indra has his Samvartika cloud, and there can be so many different fires happening, or Shiva can do his dance of destruction when destruction is necessary. Sometimes Krishna says, okay, that's enough. These souls have had enough to attempt to try to play their false roles. Now we just have to end it and start over and give them another chance. They're not looking to actually get out of here. So we need to show them why this is not like the right thing. And so Krishna chastises the demigods, like a master punishes their servant. And now it's coming up nicely, Kartik, in a few weeks, and we'll hear about Govardhan pastimes. And this is Krishna chastises different demigods in different ways. He chastises Lord Brahma and Varuna and Indra and all the demigods. In some way, they're scared of Krishna. So Indra wasn't out of ignorance and pride. He thought he deserved all the Indra Jagya stuff that the Brajavasis were going to, because the Brajavasis wanted to worship Indra. They were getting rains. The cows drink the grass drinks the grain, and the grains drink the rain. And then the cows eat the grains. The people eat the grains. They drink the milk. They become rich, and they live happily. So they connected to the rain. So they connected to Indra. So they want to do some jagya for Indra. But Krishna, he convinces Nanda Maharaj that you should actually just worship Giriraj. He's actually the one supplying the cows with the grass and water and everything. And he is, because of him, we're all being maintained. So forget Indra, all this stuff you had for Indra, just worship Giriraj. And because all the Brajavasis love Krishna, Nanda Maharaj loves Krishna, they agreed to follow Krishna. And Krishna showed Indra. Indra got upset because his stuff got taken away, his worship got taken away. And so torrential rains were brought, the Samvartika cloud was brought. But then Krishna said, he demonstrated to Indra, he's like, you think you're powerful, you're puffed up, you think you're an Ishvar, but Ekala Ishvar, me, Ekala Ishvar Krishna, Ara Sabya Brita, you're just my servant. So I'm going to show that your power is not even capable to defeat the power in my small little pinky finger. And so he lifted up like an umbrella Giriraj mountain and had wonderful pastimes with the Brajavasis, all completely in spite of Indra's full efforts to try to kill all the Brajavasis. Then they didn't even notice. They had wonderful pastimes, the best pastimes that they had, because they could all interact together without being awkward. And so Indra realized this and came to worship and pray to Krishna, and like that. So everyone's a servant of Krishna, from the greatest demigods that are these powerful conscious entities that are controlling all these things that affect so many millions and billions and trillions of souls, and controlling planets and controlling weather and controlling all these things, down to us, more insignificant humans, or even the insignificant ants and bacteria. Everything is a servant of Krishna. And even though we're required to pay electric bill, sewer bill, actually we're not really paying our sewer bill here, but we're still getting a bill for it. And similarly, we don't pay the sun bill, the cloud bill, the wind bill when there's a nice breeze. Who did we actually pay for that? With the water that's actually running, it's not the government's water. It's the government didn't pay for that. They just took it, and no one ever paid the water bill. So the way to pay the bills is not necessarily directly to each individual demigod. And if we want to do it according to the Vedas, the different yagyas we have to do requires such a huge quantity of grains, such a huge quantity of ghee. Imagine like a Olympic swimming pool filled with ghee, like incredibly difficult to organize, especially, what to speak of once, especially many times for many different demigods. There's 33 crore, and crore is 10 million, so there's 330 million different demigods, different conscious entities helping arrange things. If we want to try to worship each one, it's impossible. So the acharyas in the Vedas give the example, like we have a tree, we don't need to put water on all the fruits and the leaves and the branches of the tree, and we don't need to put nutrients. I don't need to get it like an injection and just inject nutrients into every limb of my body. And so similarly, we don't need to do yagyas to every single demigod. We simply water the root of the tree. We give food simply just to the stomach. And simply we just worship Krishna directly by Sankirtan. And in Prabhupada's class, he mentions what Sankirtan is. He says, Bahubir militva yat kirtanam tadeva sankirtanam. So Sankirtan means Bahubir militva, which this is a definition by Jiva Goswami. And here's so Prabhupada translates it. Sankirtan means by intermingling various persons. By intermingling various persons, just like we're doing here. Sankirtan, Kirtan and Sankirtan. Kirtan means alone. Prabhupada sometimes would just chant bhajans alone. And there's some nice recordings. Yamuna Devi has really wonderful memories. She would hear him chanting and be brought to tears about how much emotion he was displaying. And Sankirtan means in the assembly of many others. This is called Sankirtan. So that is recommended. Many persons sit together. There's no need of even instrument, but because Lord Chaitanya introduced kol, kartal, otherwise this even clapping is sufficient. So that's, if we're really, a lot of drive to what we do comes from gratefulness. It doesn't have to come from fear, like death is going ultimately in fear, but also comes from gratefulness. I mean, I guess I recently saw there was, the need for fathers in the home, and it showed a father yelling at the kid, why are you yelling at your mother? You think you can talk to me like you talk to your mother? Talk to me like you're talking to your mother right now. And he was really chastising the kid. And the kid was getting scared. He's like, no. He's like, all right, you're never going to talk to your mother like that again. And he's like, okay. And so out of fear, the child became good. But when the child gets older, they'll realize all the things that the parents did for them, and they'll feel grateful. And out of that gratitude, so many things happen. So often my Guru Maharaj is asked, how do you keep on going? What is your motivation for such austerities and everything that you do? And he was saying, just out of gratitude for what I've received from Srila Prabhupada, therefore I feel I'm indebted and I have to do something. So if we were feeling indebted that we didn't pay our water bill, we didn't pay our sun bill and our breeze bill, and we didn't pay the tree bill to get all the wood for the temple and so many different things, then this is what we can do. Sankirtan, just get together and even just clap. And it's simple, but Prabhupada says it's easy. It's simple and sublime, but you have to be sincere. And he makes the point that in the modern society, he said this is very easy for everyone to do. Even if you're a family person that you can't go out every day and spend all your energy like those who live in the temple. At least in the evening, there's always some time in the evening after work. You come, a little winding down, a couple hours before sleep, and there's always time for some activity. And just sit all the family members down, and even if there's no instruments, just clap and chant and do Sankirtan. And this is proper culture, proper society. In India, that used to be what happened in all the villages, that there would just be glorification of the Lord in the evening. After a long days of working, everyone would come together, and but then with the so-called modern culture coming, instead of very easily doing that and taking the opportunity that this human life has given us, there's so many other opportunities to just double down on our misidentification. And unfortunately, everyone's getting tied up in that. So instead of getting together to glorify Krishna, to go to the restaurant or go to a movie or go to the club or different kinds of societies, different associations, go to the Comic-Con, go to the rock concert, go to this, go to that. And Prabhupada's saying this is like modern so-called civilization. They're ignorant of the actual problems of life. They're scared, but then they kind of forget it. Like Yudhishthira Maharaj says, the most amazing thing is everyone knows that they're going to die, but they don't really act like it. So it's just ignorance, ignoring the problem. Birth, death, old age, disease. And so with this valuable human form of life, if we take it seriously, we just try to engage more and more of our energy in glorifying the Lord, in serving the Lord, and then we can become a bhaya. If we worship the Charanaravinda, the lotus feet of the Lord, if we take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, by serving Him, by helping propagate the Sankirtan movement, which means any activity in this temple, this is just like an embassy of Sankirtan. We make sure that the floors are clean and not messed up, so someone had to lug all these concrete blocks and put them on there. That counts as Sankirtan. Someone, pujari, have to do so many seva. Someone has to cook. Someone has to clean. Someone has to do construction. Someone has to go out there and chant. Someone has to make programs and like that. So if we can engage people in this activity, in the activities of Vaikuntha, and the activities of human life, then everyone can go beyond this fearful condition, and they can actually enjoy transcendental life, and we can fight back against the kind of degradation of the modern so-called society. What was happening in India is then when finally the movie theater came out, the cinema. So instead of in the nightclubs, in the bars, in different things, instead of going to the Sankirtan performance where they'd have, when you do something over and over again, when the culture is directed towards that, it can become very wonderful. So you'd have wonderful performers performing all these dramas related to the pastimes of the Lord, very expert playing kirtan and getting everyone to dance and become ecstatic, very expert music, very expert poets, everyone focusing all their thoughts on Krishna, then that makes things very wonderful. But then getting diverted to the cinema, to the different other things, not focusing on the Lord, then just becoming into walking into the trap, walking into the fearful condition. Eventually, at the time of their death, the whole movie of their life will play, and they'll realize how worthless all those things they did were, and they were just distracting them from the actual real life. And they'll have to get the great reset. They'll have to be put into another body and try again. And so we don't want people to try again. We want them to just get it right this time. And so that's what we're here for. And so instead of being ignorant of the fearful problems and ignorant of our opportunity of human life, we should understand what a great opportunity we have and what we have to give to others, and just simply do it, and we'll continuously make advancement until we become fully qualified to go directly be with Krishna, doing the similar things that we do now, but in a perfected way. So it's 8:48, and maybe there's more to say, but I'd like to hear, there's a lot of other devotees here that are more senior than me. They can maybe say something for the next time. Maybe Jai Nandi, you would grab the mic and see if Ramrai Prabhu or Krishna Kripa or devotees want to say anything.
It's nice how you're mentioning that the scientists' explanations are incomplete. They have chemistry where they study the material elements, but where the matter originally came from, they have no explanation for. And they have their physics, and they glorify Newton for his laws of motion, but actually they're Krishna's laws of motion, and Newton just discovered them. Where the laws came from, they have no explanation.
Yeah, why does something stay in motion? Out of fear of Krishna.
So, also you're talking about doing Sankirtan just by clapping. I'm in the process of reading the Chaitanya Bhagavat for the first time, and I was surprised to learn that when Lord Chaitanya himself started his Sankirtan, he started by clapping. So it's very bona fide, actually. If you don't have anything else, if you forgot your kartals or mridanga, just clap.
Yeah, it seems, I remember one time we were in, what subway was it? We were in Queens, in the Jackson Heights subway. And it came to a point where I thought that in the subway they were going to force us to like not play the drums. For some reason I was thinking that because they were getting like heavy with us, and it ended up not being really anything, but I was just thinking, man, now every time we go to the subway we're going to just clap for like 6 hours a day, 4 hours a day. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do that. But even if you don't have anything, you actually could do that. And if we're sincere, then that, you know, Krishna can make that completely ecstatic and fulfill us. You gotta probably turn it on. Did the battery run out?
Hare Krishna.
There it goes.
Hare Bol. Yeah, when I heard the verse, I say, is this a selected verse? Because I heard that verse before. I wonder how it will come in a Bhāgavatam class again. You know, I didn't know where it was, but as you said, Srila Prabhupada commented on that verse previously. So I must have had that good fortune of hearing the verse. And I was thinking that the demigods, they are, why they would have so much opulence and pleasure, and while they're having it, they are forgetful of Krishna. Like Indra, he was forgetful of Krishna. And Brahma, he was also forgetful of Krishna, because they have so much opportunity to enjoy. And that is their reward. That is the reward for attaining such position. So naturally, they would want to enjoy, and they will enjoy, and while enjoying, they would forget of Krishna. Because if one is in fear of Krishna, if one is in fear, he cannot enjoy. Anytime one is suppressed by fear, anytime one is in anxiety, he has some type of fear, he loses all ability to enjoy.
As soon as the Titanic started to sink, no one could enjoy.
Yes. So that point of fear causes our suffering in the material world. So we get an opportunity to enjoy, seemingly enjoy when we're in the material world, but if we have fear, or we come across that fear, the tendency is that we would lose our inclination towards enjoying. So how could we become fearless while we enjoy things in this world, or while we enjoy this world? Is there a possibility of people really enjoying, or the demigods really enjoying, separate from Krishna?
Yeah, well, their enjoyment is also ultimately their fear, because they're always looking on their back. Is the demon's going to come and mess this up? You know, or, you know, I gotta, Indra's like, oh damn, he did 99. He's almost at 100. I'm scared he's going to take my thing. It's kind of like we think the lion, like my point with the lion, we think the lion is enjoying. He's not really scared, but he's scared he's going to starve. He can kill anything he wants, but he can't just keep his mouth open and it walks into his mouth. He still has to do something. So the demigods, their misidentification with their body is increased by all this enjoyment, because they're thinking, this is I and mine. This stuff is mine. These wonderful heavenly girls are mine. This wonderful garden and palace is mine, and so I'm going to enjoy all what it's mine. And it's just deepening their misidentification. And fortunately, they're suras. They're not adverse to taking the direction from the Lord. But yeah, this is the whole point of why we don't want to become a demigod. We don't want to perform devotional service with material desires, because that's what it will ultimately lead to. If you cling on to your material desires, then one possible destination is you become Indra, you become one of these demigods. You go to the heavenly planets and you enjoy there for some time. And what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? You go there to enjoy, then you have to come back here when it's over. So maybe there is enjoyment, like a drop, there's something, but if that sweet rice has some sand in it, is it really enjoyment? You know, they know they're going to come back down here eventually. Maybe they forget about it for a second, but we don't really say that the bliss of an ignorant person is really bliss. Just because the ignorant person is ignoring their problem, like, a 1,000-foot, 1,000-mile high tidal wave is coming, and you just put your head in the sand. That's not like saying that you're like enjoying. Like, no, that's it. So similarly, the demigods, eventually the garlands are going to come off, and they have to come back down to the Martya Loka, the place of death. And maybe for the thousands and millions of years that they're in the heavenly planets, maybe they can enjoy a little bit, but that's still, because it's going to come to an end and we want an eternal situation, somewhere in the back of their head that's going to mess things up. I mean, obviously, everyone trying to enjoy is like that. We all think we can somewhat enjoy, even if we're having prasadam, when we forget that it's actually, we should be honoring the prasadam. We're eating that. We forget we begin to misidentify ourselves. Oh, this is just food, and and I'm hungry, so if I eat this, then I'm enjoying. And so, fear comes from ignorance and forgetfulness. And therefore, this verse in Bhāgavatam, therefore, an intelligent person should engage unflinchingly in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord, under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, who he should accept as his worshipful deity in his very life and soul. So fear is caused by ignorance, and fearlessness, therefore, is caused by knowledge and worship of the Supreme Lord, which is the ultimate knowledge. Because when we really know what's going on, sambandha gyan, we know that the Lord is the ultimate master of everyone, and that we're his servant. So then when we act in that abhideya, then we can get the prayojana, which is actual bliss. Everything else is like sand in the sweet rice. Either it's like big rocks in our sweet rice or tiny little grains of sand. Everyone's got some sort of sand in their sweet rice. They can all eat. Everyone can eat sweet rice. Everyone's eating sweet rice. Even the pigs are eating sweet rice. Somehow, even bacteria are somehow eating sweet rice. But in the material world, that's all got sand in it. Does anyone have it? Gugul Kishore Prabhu, anything to say? Hare Krishna. Ram Rai Prabhu.
Kapila Dev's speaking these verses shows an incredible contrast. All these most powerful phenomena, ultimately death itself goes about taking its toll out of fear of me. And the devotee, he ultimately advances his practice of devotional service to the point where he's completely atmanivedana, completely absorbed in the mission of the Lord. And for him, we see in like Srila Prabhupada's prayers that, that remembrance of you came to me in such a nice way. You were my dear friend. And so Srila Prabhupada is a perfect example of completely fearless personality, because he's accepted Krishna, not just the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but his dearmost friend. So Srila Prabhupada is giving us all that opportunity to make Krishna the Supreme Friend, the Supreme Beloved. And the problem of fear of death is very easily taken care of. So these are some very nice verses from Kapila Dev, showing this contrast and the potency of devotional service, ultimately culminating in accepting Krishna as the Supreme Friend, the Supreme Beloved.
Yeah, that reminds me of in the verse it's saying all these demigods are acting out of fear, so they're scared of the Supreme Lord. But we're not saying become a demigod servant of the Lord. We're saying become, in one of the different bhakti rasas in relation with the Supreme Lord. So there's no fear with that. Even if your mother Yashoda, maybe Krishna is scared of you. So we don't preach fear of God like a lot of other people might do. I mean, there is that there, it's an important, but ultimately love of God is far surpasses it. Okay, Grantaraj Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki Gaur Premanandi Hari Om Tat Sat.